Hey everyone, Brian Zane here with my review of AEW Dynamite for June 15th, 2022. But first, before I even touch Dynamite, I have to talk a little bit about the big story that broke earlier today. Normally, I would wait for This Week in Regret on Friday to talk about it, but this is too big a story. We gotta talk a little bit about it here to open this thing up. The news that apparently WWE, the board of directors, is investigating Vince McMahon over an alleged $3 million payout for hush money to a former female employee of the company to help cover up an alleged affair between her and Mr. McMahon. Allegedly he was passing her off to Johnny Ace, according to this anonymous letter written by a friend of the former employee. Allegedly lots of other non-disclosure agreements being investigated on top of the one that has to do with this one. This is big. This is a serious story here surrounding Vince, and dare I say, it's the biggest threat to his position of power since, easily the biggest since the steroid trial in the early 90s. Maybe the allegations that he sexually assaulted a tanning salon employee in Tampa, but that was never really followed up on. But those allegations still kind of linger. But the story is wild. I'm sure a lot will change between when I'm recording this now on Wednesday night and Friday morning when I record for This Week in Regret, for sure. But could this be the thing that finally leads to Vince McMahon stepping down from the company after everything that's he's had to withstand and everything that he's been through over the decades? This could be the thing that finally takes him down. Could it be that Nick Khan, after only 2 years in the company, could be the final executive left standing after Stephanie takes leave of absence and Triple H was gone for a while? He's back now, but in a different capacity than before. Shane McMahon is gone. Now, what does the future hold for Vince? I mean, it could be anything. It could be nothing, but it could be something. It's just at the time that I'm recording this now, it still feels very much up in the air. But I think if the story picks up enough, this could be big. This could be a serious blow to Vince McMahon and possibly all of WWE in general. I tell you what, if Vince does have to step down though, there is somebody they just hired with some experience running promotions who might be able to help, keep the ship going. The prophecy that Pritchard and Patterson years ago tried to prevent may be fulfilled if Jeff Jarrett is put in a position of power, if Vince McMahon steps down. But that's all hypothetical stuff anyway. But yeah, this is crazy. It's a wild story. I'm sure there'll be more to talk about on Friday for This Week in Regret. So do keep locked into the channel and keep your eyes peeled for the latest on that, because I'm sure there will be some stuff to discuss. I haven't even discussed the rumor as of right now that apparently Sasha Banks may be released to the company. That hasn't been confirmed either, but it's been a wild week of wrestling, and there's even one story that I'm still yet to talk about that's going to happen later in the show I'll talk about. A lot of crazy shit in wrestling this week, and we're barely halfway done. So let's just get on with it and talk about Dynamite this week, okay? Road Rager begins with a hair versus hair match as former Inner Circle members Chris Jericho and Ortiz battle here, and all their luscious flowing locks are on the line in this match. This is a fun opener here. I like the action these two have here. They both give and they get a lot. Jericho takes a powerbomb out of the corner. Jericho suplexing Ortiz off the apron onto the floor before the commercial break. I love William Regal's on commentary here, as he's often want to do in situations like this. He's on the commentary and he openly questions, what kind of wigs do you think Chris Jericho would wear if he lost this one? Maybe a big afro wig. I would love to see that visual there. Angelo Parker tries to get involved after Jericho has the walls locked in. That causes a big fracas on the outside. Wheeler Yuta and Santana run down to help try and even things up as well. Eventually, Eddie Kingston hits a back fist on Jericho when the ref's not looking, and Ortiz goes to the cover, and it's a very close kick out, very close 2 count there. I mean, that's one of the biggest falsies you'll see all night in terms of all the different matches. But then in comes Fuego del Sol, who decks Ortiz with a ball bat, and then he powders, and then Jericho covers and wins. So his hair gets to stay on his head. Ortiz has to get a haircut. But before that happens, we see Fuego del Sol unmasked, and it's Sammy Guevara in disguise. And so maybe he's back with the Jericho Appreciation Society here, the former Inner Circle OG member, and since turning face and splitting off and doing his thing, he was gone from that, but now he's a heel, and I think his heel run is in need of a bit of rehabilitation after that very confusing program with America Top Team, and so now he's there. I think that actually might be a good fit for him. Maybe not, I don't know if you would call that a step back for him, because the Jericho Appreciation Society is this different entity, so maybe there'll be more benefit for him being there, but I think anything is better than what he's been at, so maybe this will be a good step for Sammy, and I guess by extension, mention Ty Conti as well. So anyway, the real cool moment at the end of this match was Ortiz. He's getting the haircut. He doesn't try to fight it. He just does it himself. He grabs the shears and he's shaving his own head. I think I heard an interview recently where he said he hasn't cut his hair in 5 years. That's 5 years of growth, all done in the span of like a minute. And as that's happening, he's screaming into the microphone, blood and guts, blood and guts, just reminding Jericho that match is still happening. He's a man of his word, so he's going through it, but now we're going to have that match, blood and guts. I think that was just a really cool way to hammer that home, and Jericho might have won the battle here, but like the war is still somewhere in the horizon. But yeah, overall, very good opening matchup, a lot of stakes. It was entertaining, and even though, you know, the good guy ended up not winning this one, there's still kind of that feeling of something bigger lying ahead. It's time for the 20-on-1 class action lawsuit handicap match as Wardlow takes on 20 nameless black shirt security guards here. We do get a People's Court parody opening describing the two sides here. The plaintiffs are suing for retribution. The poor ring announcer in this thing's had a hard time keeping track of just who's getting eliminated and how, because the very first thing Wardlow does, he knocks 4 of the guards just off the apron, and she suddenly thinks that they're eliminated just by virtue of being knocked out of the ring. It's not like Tekken. It's not like Soul Calibur. If you knock them out of the ring, the fight can still happen. They're not disqualified there. And so anyway, Wardlow's just beating fools up. Like, he's taking them down 2, 3 at a time. He's powerbombing a bunch of people, and he's stacking them on top of each other and pinning them. But like, not all of them have their shoulders facing the mat, so that's not how pinfalls work. I think Mark Sterling should find a way to kind of finagle out of this thing. But yeah, it's like people are getting eliminated 4 or 5 at a time. Finally, at the end, after many power bombs and many pinfalls, Wardlow wins, and the announcement is the case is dismissed. I love that. That's how all legal battles should be conducted, as far as I'm concerned, in the squared circle. So anyway, Wardlow corners Mark Sterling in the ring. But then Dan Lambert and Scorpio Sky are up in the rafters and everything, and Lambert's got a mic. He calls on Matt Hughes and Tyrone Woodley, a couple of UFC fighters who are in the front row. He tells them to go sick them, go beat up Wardlow, and I guess, you know, they just have that immunity. They can do whatever they want because they just go through the barricade and get in the ring, and no one's stopping them. These guys who are not wrestlers or performers in any way for AEW, but they're there and they want to confront Wardlow. But then Wardlow's on the microphone and basically appeals to them, saying, hey, why would you take orders from some rich asshole who's up in the skybox or whatever? We're all from, you know, you guys are from St. Louis and we're in St. Louis, so do the babyface thing. So they throw Mark Sterling at Wardlow, and Wardlow power bombs him, and then there's a very awkward arm raising, and that's how the segment ends there. I'll say this, the match itself was pretty silly, and you know, the pinfalls were a little iffy at times, but with a concept like 20-on-1 and everyone else, the 20 is all just faceless, nameless jobbers, like, I guess there's room for some wackiness in this thing, you know? I think it was just fun to see one guy beating up a ton of other people all on his own. Hopefully Wardlow can now move on from this little mini program with Sterling and the security guards, and you know, maybe transition more to this thing with Scorpio Sky and the TNT Championship. Because right now it's like, this has been fun, but let's not keep beating the dead horse. Dax Harwood taking on the new IWGP US Champion Will Ospreay. Ospreay's making his Dynamite in-ring debut this week, and this match is just great. I mean, it's a knocky-draggy for sure. It's very technically sound. Dax Harwood has definitely been earning a lot of praise in the last several months for his wrestling abilities, not just for tags, but singles as well. I think that if FTR does break up at some point in the future, there's a bright future for Dax as a singles guy. I think that he really has the chops, and he and Ospreay work so well together in this thing. This is some of the smoothest wrestling I've seen in quite some time, AEW, WWE, or whatever. Some of the high German suplexes that Ospreay takes from Dax in this match are pretty insane as well. Some close calls where Ospreay is definitely on the ropes this thing. Ospreay does hit the hidden blade onto Dax from behind to win the matchup here. After the bell, the rest of the United Empire show up. They kind of corner Dax, then Cash Wheeler comes out, try and make the save, but then out comes Orange Cassidy back from his injury. Last we saw him, his arm was in a sling. He shows back up, and then there's the rest of the American division of Chaos. So the Best Friends and Rocky Romero, they all show up and they chase out the baddies, but we do have a brief stare down though with Ospreay and Cassidy beforehand, which gets a huge pop. So FTR and the Best Friends stand tall in the ring. So like I said, great match. If you watch one match from Dynamite this week, you know, it might not even be this one. It might be the main event, but I think if you had to pick one, I might lean more toward this one. If you just like straight up wrestling and don't like the big, explosions and stuff and big spots from like a table, a ladder match with tables involved. Let's put it that way. If that's your flavor, then I think that's the one to go for. But yeah, great matchup here, and my body is ready for Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay for the IWGP US title at Forbidden Door. We get a promo package from Jon Moxley toward Hiroshi Tanahashi about their upcoming match at Forbidden Door. He says he is the Forbidden Door. Then we get the in-person face-off between the two of them in the ring. We get a holy shit chant before either of them say a word. Moxley on the mic telling Tanahashi it's been a long time coming. They even kind of echoing what they said in the hype package. This is kind of like a collision course 2 or 3 years in the making. And Moxley says everything he's worked for and fought for the last 2 or 3 years, it's basically coming down to this match for the interim AEW championship. And it's always been about Tanahashi. There's always been one ace of New Japan, and he's inspired so many people, but that's all going to change at Forbidden Door. Before Tanahashi can respond, though, out come Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Ty Conti on the stage. Jericho says a few words before Tanahashi gets on the mic and tells him to shut up. Suddenly, a couple members of Suzuki-gun, El Desperado, and Lance Archer run in and help the Jericho Appreciation Society beat up Moxley and Tanahashi. Jericho back on the mic and saying that, first of all, Suzuki-gun is now working alongside the JAS, and that at Forbidden Door, there's going to be a 6-man tag with he, Guevara, and Suzuki versus Wheeler Yuta, Shota Umino, and Eddie Kingston. And then after that match is announced, the good guys eventually kind of rally and they clear the ring, and we get another stare down with Moxley and Tanahashi there. This segment had a lot to take in. We got the face-off with Tanahashi and Moxley. They have been kind of like wanting this match. They've been kind of like planting the seeds for this match across AEW and New Japan for like 2 or 3 years now, like they've been saying. And, it just feels right to have a match like this. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a very big fight feel for this matchup. And yeah, they threw a lot at you with this segment, not only kind of reaffirming that match, but also showing you how this other 6-man match is going to be made and where Suzuki-gun fits into all that stuff. And so yeah, a lot of wild stuff happening here, but it was a fun segment. We hear from Toni Storm in a backstage promo. This one's got a bit of production to it too, because as Toni is describing her beef with Britt Baker, we are seeing some B-roll of the two of them kind of play over it and everything. And so she says that she's going to beat Baker on her way to becoming the women's champion. In our next match, it's the next match in the All-Atlantic Championship Tournament. Ethan Page taking on MIRO here. It's technically, I think it's heel versus heel, even though like MIRO is, between the two of these guys, by default, is obviously the baby face. Like the fans just love MIRO. I think whether he is a face or a heel, he was just kind of one of those guys who, such a badass, kind of hard to really like genuinely boo. It's like you just have to respect him and kind of appreciate what he was like. And that's kind of how I felt about his run, especially last year at the TNT Championship. But it's a good match. It's a good like competitive thing. Page looks pretty good here, attacking Miro's arm pretty effectively throughout. You can see Miro selling it from pretty early on here in this thing. Near the end, Page mocking Miro by putting Miro's hands together like in prayer like this, but Miro fights out of it pretty fast. He ends up, he has enough of that. He puts Ethan in game over to win emphatically, and so he's going to be in that fatal 4-way at Forbidden Door to crown the new champion. So we've got him and we have Pac so far, so we'll see how the rest of the field fills out. But yeah, definitely a good match. Dr. Britt Baker taking on Toni Storm up next, as that earlier promo alluded to. Early on, Hayter and Rebel are cheating to help Britt out, but then Thunder Rosa comes out, chasing Jamie Hayter away. Rebel's still ringside, though, as the match goes on. Some good back and forth in this thing. I love Toni's tornado DDT that she does off the apron onto the floor. Toni with some knees to the head, and for a minute it looks like she legitimately hurts Britt, because she looks just out, kind of like in this dazed thing. We've seen that kind of the body language before. But it was a very elaborate ruse. I mean, she worked me and a lot of others pretty good with that acting job she did there. Britt trying a couple different ways to beat Toni after the big surprise there, but it does not slow Toni down. She ends up planting Britt with a big old pile driver to win the match, and so by that, she's kind of earned the right to face Thunder Rosa for the women's championship, which we get a stare down with the two of them after the match, and then that match is confirmed for later in the night. That's going to be happening at Forbidden Door. This match is okay. It's kind of refreshing in a way to see Britt Baker take a couple of big losses so soon together. Like the one she had against the tag match with Ruby Soho and Toni Storm after the last pay-per-view, and losing pretty clean here to Toni Storm. It's very nice, very refreshing to see Britt actually lose a couple matches now and then. Stokely Hathaway backstage, he announces that on Friday, Jade Cargill is going to have an open challenge for her TBS championship. Then in comes Willow Nightingale to say she wants to challenge Jade for the belt. Stokely tells her that's crazy as hell, but nevertheless, the match is on. Good for Willow. I'm very excited for this opportunity for her. You know, Willow is one of my favorite just personalities in wrestling, and I think she's super popular, super endearing, and you know, having seen her perform just over the years at ROH, and then seeing her match against Mercedes Martinez for the interim ROH Women's Championship, just like she's so just well beloved, and I think she's going to be a great natural babyface to go against someone like Jade Cargill this Friday. Should be a very interesting match. Then it's time to hear some words from the former AEW champ Hangman Page. He talks about how last week he called his shot and he wanted a match with Okada for the IWGP World Championship, and now it turns out that Okada's not even the champ anymore. Jay White beat him for the belt at Dominion, and so now, but he says, you know, despite that, the message remains the same. I want a shot at the championship. But then Adam Cole interrupts and kind of reiterates what he said last week. Hey, if anyone deserves a shot at the championship, it's me. It's also Jay White, my good friend. It's the Undisputed Elite. It's Bullet Club, rah rah. Okada's not even going to be at Forbidden Door, and so basically he's, you know, saying, hey, you know what? It's going to be my time to fight Jay White. And then he wants to introduce Jay White. We get his music and everything, but it's a sneak attack. White attacks Page from behind in the ring, hits the Blade Runner to lay him out, and then Jay on the mic saying, you know what? Like, I've already beaten you 2-0. That's what the series is right now, and you know, I'm not going to defend the belt against you at Forbidden Door. Adam Cole's like, yes, that means it's totally going to be me now. And then White's like, the face he made there I thought was great. He says, it's not going to be you either. I'm not defending the belt against you, but no matter what happens, it's going to be the Sling Blade era, essentially. So no answers to the questions we got at the beginning of this segment. You know, still not really sure who's going to be challenging Jay White for the belt at the pay-per-view. All signs seem to be pointing to a triple threat, I would imagine. You know, I maybe we'll have a match between Cole and Page to determine which one person will fight, but I think the story kind of lends itself more to a triple threat. What do you think? Main event time. It's a ladder match with the AEW Tag Titles as the Jurassic Express defend against the Young Bucks. Of course, conspicuous in their absence is the Hardy Boys. They were supposed to be a triple threat ladder match involving Matt and Jeff, but as we all know now, Jeff Hardy was arrested earlier this week for DUI charges. It's his third offense in 10 years. According to Tony Khan in his statement, he's been suspended without pay, and that they are offering to help pay for whatever care and recovery he needs, but the onus is on him basically to get better before anything can possibly come back. But I think honestly, we shouldn't be talking about Jeff Hardy and when he can get back in the ring. When can Jeff Hardy wrestle again? No. As far as I'm concerned, Jeff Hardy should stay as far away from wrestling as possible. And it sucks, the boneheaded mistake he made. And I get it, like addiction is hard, it is unrelenting, and as Matt Hardy said in his tweet about this, recovery is not linear. I get that, but how many chances is this guy gonna get? How forgiving can we be anymore as a fan base when these things keep happening? How many times can someone like Jeff or Jey Uso or Tammy Sitch get behind the wheel of a car while impaired and keep getting these chances before something irreversible and catastrophic happens, like what we saw with Sonny earlier this year? You know, it sucks that the Hardys reunion is kiboshed, but that's all on Jeff. And there's people saying, oh, Matt Hardy should get some blame. Oh, Rebby Hardy should get some blame. Oh, AEW. No, it's like it all comes down to the personal choice of the person, you know, like, and it's crazy to me that there's people blaming others. There's no one to blame but Jeff himself, and it's sad and it sucks, but that's just the stone cold truth, as it were. And like I said, I mean, I'm far less concerned with Jeff getting back in the ring, because what we've seen in his AEW run makes me not want to see him in the ring anymore, because he's just doing all these crazy stunts. And I think it's time for him to just step away and just stay away if he has to, until he can get this stuff under control. That's just my 2 cents about it. It sucks. Addiction sucks. But again, I think he's used up all his chances. Anyway, on a lighter note, this very chaotic ladder match involving tables was very entertaining from the get-go, very fast-paced. I love Matt's Northern Lights, multiple Northern Lights on Jungle Boy leading into the table spot. Jungle Boy Hurricane Rana's Matt off the apron through a table. JB gets powerbombed through another one, and then Nick with a 450 to Luchasaurus through another table, all before the first commercial break. It was just chaotic. Matt with a big top rope elbow to Luchasaurus off the top through a table. The Bucks try a BTE trigger on Jungle Boy on top of the ladders, but Jungle Boy fights off that. Luchasaurus on the ladders, but he's pushed off and falls through like 4 tables on the outside. The way these tables break is the most satisfying, crunchy breakage of tables I've seen in quite some time. In the end, though, you got the BTE trigger to Jungle Boy. The Bucks climb the ladders, they grab the belts, and they win the match. They are the first 2-time AEW Tag Team Champions in the company's young history, and is what a hell of a run by Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus with the tag belts. They had a great, just fun babyface run with those belts. Some of the matches they had, especially the ones with, the Young Bucks and Adam Cole, that was a great match they had, that 6-man, some great tag title defense they had on TV and on pay-per-view. It was a very good run, all told. I think it was a perfect length of time, and they had some great matches under their belts. So no shame in how that reign went down with the tag belts, in my opinion. After the match, you've got Christian Cage getting in there to try and check on his friends, helping Jungle Boy out, but psych, he brings him back in the ring, hits him with the kill switch, and now the betrayal, which has been long forecasted for a while, is finally completing here. And we see Jungle Boy's sister and mother sitting in the front row at ringside watching all this go down. Christian with the one-man concerto to Jungle Boy as the show goes off the air. I can't say we didn't see this coming. Like I said, we've been talking about this for weeks now, planting some very obvious seeds, very predictable seeds, but again, it's all about the journey, and I think the way they told the story was good. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what Christian's rationale is going to be regarding this heel turn, where he goes after this. I'm curious to see what that means for the future of Jurassic Express as a tag team going from here, because it's one thing for them to lose the tag belts, but now they're feuding with Christian. Like, where is that going to go with their pairing, I would wonder. So we'll have to see. But yeah, long story short, killer main event. My grade for this week's Dynamite, the Road Rager edition, is an A-. I think this was a great show from top to bottom. There's a lot of fun to be had on this show. Lots of wild moments as they build closer and closer to Forbidden Door. Seeing some more of those cameos from the New Japan talent. We had some wild story twists in here. We got the big tag title match at the end. We got the titles changing hands. We got the betrayal by Christian Cage. Jericho and Ortiz was a fun opening matchup here. You had some great technical wrestling with Harwood and Ospreay. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of stuff happening here. Even the handicap match, as flawed as it was, did have some fun moments that I enjoyed, but that's kind of that match was probably the weakest of the whole thing, but even the story they told, I thought, was pretty entertaining on its own. But what did you think of Dynamite this week, folks? Let me hear it in the comment section below, and don't worry, there's a lot of stuff that we talked about here tonight that I'm sure we'll follow up on this Friday on This Week in Regret. But until then, folks, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.